the sports teams that exist. Certain countries have a big one or two, but we're proud to say our podcast is about the biggest team in the entire world.
And the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys?
Yeah! This is the World's Team Podcast. All about the world's team, the Dallas Cowboys, baby. We're here to redefine what it means to be a fan of the gridiron game. It's not just America's team anymore. Nope. We're taking that star-studded pride and spreading it across the globe. Each week, we dive into all things Cowboys. From game analysis that'll have you on the edge of your seat, to reactions and all the latest news. Whether it's free agency frenzy, draft day drama, or injury reports that make us want to hug our lucky jerseys a little tighter. We're bringing in fan groups from all over the place, from Germany, France, Brazil, the UK, Canada, Japan. Everybody gets to share their 2 cents on America's favorite team.
Here we go!
America's team, Mexico's team, world's team, my Dallas Cowboys!
And now your hosts, Paul Stewart and Mike Poland.
Hello, Cowboys Nation. Welcome to another episode of the World's Team. I'm not going to say the next part, Mike, because it's a weird scenario that we're in right now. But how about them Cowboys, I guess, right? But as always, I am your host, Paul Stewart, and I am joined by my brother-in-arms, Mike Poland. And boy, oh boy, why we've got a show today, and I'm stuttering like hell because I just don't know what the hell is going on. I really don't.
Are you raging? Are you raging?
In some ways, yes. There's some I can maybe understand why Shaw, obviously our new head coach has been hired.
There we go. Start with that.
For some reasons, yes, which we'll dive into. But overall, I am frankly disgusted and angry. The fact that we're just seem to be recycling guys that have been in the building. That's the annoying part. We're not going out of our comfort zones to make that next leap, that next level, perhaps. And I'm so sick and tired, Mike, of hearing we love our guys. That is now ingrained in my brain, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Like from Stephen Jones saying it to Jerry Jones saying it, I am sick of it. But I mean, as we will say, but as everyone knows, the breaking news is that Brian Schottenheimer is the new Dallas Cowboys head coach. Take that as you want. The mainstream media are baffled. The fans are angry. And all the haters are laughing, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. It's just, I think for most fans, it's like, come on, because what was available is frustrating. And I think more than anything for the fans, what it is let's ask this question. Here's a good question to start off with. Is this Schottenheimer hire as a head coach? No head coaching experience, plenty of OC, assistant coaching. But this hiring of Schottenheimer, does this move the needle at all for Dallas from what they were last season with Mike McCarthy to now? Has that needle gone better, worse, or just stayed the same?
I think that's a big question mark. It's still
exactly
we just don't know.
That's the problem.
I think from the fans' perspective, we would like to have someone that had more success as an offensive coordinator to rotate the helms. Or a defensive coordinator with a bit more success to take the helms for being our next head coach. But
that's exactly my point, is that you'd say, like, does it move the needle at all in any direction? The question is nobody knows. And that's what's so frustrating about it, because you don't know. like Schottenheimer as an OC, very up and down. The seasons have been up and down constantly.
I would say it's more down, Mike, if I'm being honest. Like he had under Urban Meyer at Jacksonville, he had one of the worst offenses in the NFL. He was 85th with Georgia in college, 85th best overall offense.
Right.
That's embarrassing for say the team like Georgia, the Georgia Bulldogs, to have that. And yeah, and he's been from team to team. And the fact is, he's never been approached for any head coaching role ever before. Like teams haven't been calling his name. So I just don't get the appeal. I really don't. Only Jerry and Steven would know that.
Yeah.
And that's
I mean, like I have, we could talk about the gripes with Shai, which we will, but I will defend the Jacksonville take because I know, you can say what you want about what he was like at Jacksonville and what that team was like, but it was under Urban Meyer, and like look what happened with Urban Meyer. That's
true,
team,
but
it was an entire mess.
It doesn't matter, mate. It doesn't matter. He was still the offensive coordinator. He was still calling the plays.
Yeah. I'm just like saying that,
and sorry, Mike, to cut you off, but where it comes to here being at Dallas, he was started off as a consultant to Kellen Moore, and then he was just there as a fill position because Mike McCarthy was calling the plays last year. So someone make this sense to me why this is such a good hire. Why is someone explain to me that Brian Schottenheimer is going to take us to the Super Bowl. I am not seeing it personally in my I'm really going into next season with very, very low expectations. Very low. Because this is and like we said, going last year, we were talking about coaching, etc. It's either all in or whatever or not. This is a total rebuild of a team now.
It should have been a rebuild last year, in my opinion.
It should have been. Yeah, I totally agree with you. But yeah, it's we're now in this situation now. Regardless if you dislike the hire or not, you still need to kind of show some level of support for Schottenheimer. Because end of the day, especially you and me, Mike, I am willing to eat the biggest piece of humble pie known to man. Yeah. That's the thing. I always want to be wrong in these discussions. Because obviously, I'm just a fan. I'm not there in Dallas every single day. I'm not there in the coach's room. I'm not there. I don't know the personnel per se, but just from looking at the resume, the history, and this is the best we can come up with, it doesn't inspire fans' confidence in whatsoever in this. So, and also it's, and I don't want to throw too much digs at Jerry Jones, but for him to self-proclaim himself as the best general manager in the business, where we're constantly having to fight with the cap, not bringing in any free agents, etc., and we basically did a skip session of potential head coaches, and we just picked the guy who was already in the building.
Yeah,
it's been cheap. It's been very cheap. I'm sorry. It kind of feels like Bill Parcells going to Jason Garrett all over again.
Okay. The thing I will say, what I think is, it sounds bad to say, but I think this was like the desperation hire because.
Totally, 100%. 100%.
You follow the stepping stones of it all. Like Shotty was never their first choice. This was never like, oh, this is what we'll do. He was always seen to be in, break glass and emergency, easy head coach. Because they try and get Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy turns around and goes, nah. So then they go down the road with a number of other guys, Ben Johnson, the new Patriots head coach, I forget his name. Name escapes me. Thank you very much. All these guys have been approached and they all turn around and say no. Then you hear, while they're going down the road of entertaining the idea of Shai, that they go, Pete Carroll. And Pete Carroll turns around, has one conversation with the team and goes, yeah, I'm off to the Raiders. You look at all of this that all these head coaches with previous head coaching experience are all turning around and going, nah, no way. I'm going to go somewhere else. So then what ends up coming is back down the line and they go, well, who else have we got? And then they just go with familiarity because that's what they like. And they go, all right, then Schottenheimer it is.
We like our
We
guys.
like our guys. I put that in a tweet, earlier in the week and it went viral. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. It's just, it seems to be that nobody wants to be a head coach that knows the team well enough.
It seems like a lot more people are kind of switched on the fact that they don't want to be under a puppet string, essentially.
Yeah.
This what like and I mean that no disrespect to Brian Schottenheimer. I don't. But
No.
this is what it generally feels like. We feel as though we've got another Jerry puppet in the building.
Yeah. We can't talk about, well, we can. I mean, look, Schottenheimer as a guy isn't a bad guy. We're not going to go down that road of saying like, oh, we hate him, yada yada yada.
No, we don't know him. That's the thing. We don't know him.
Yeah.
Like
Personality-wise, nothing wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I like how he conducts him. If there's one thing I will say, I like how he conducts himself in interviews.
Yeah, sure.
Right, and he does seem very knowledgeable in that regard. Like he knows what he's talking about. Like my issue is just the fact that like
no head coaching experience.
No, it's not so much the head coaching experience. I think we would have had to go down the route of a college coach, OC, or like college head coach, or an offensive coordinator with no head coach experience. I think that would have been some type of route we would have to dive into. But the thing is, every person out there has a better resume than Brian Schottenheimer. That's the thing. And it's the fact that we're not willing to go and seek out and actually try and find the guy that fits, is willing to make the difference. And the fact is that, and like you said though, Mike, the coaches, offensive coordinators are actually turning down the Cowboys. That speaks volumes. No one wants to come to Dallas.
It's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. Like as a fan who like I travel, like you travel, our friends from Germany all travel. We spend thousands and thousands of pounds, euros, and all our friends across the US go from state to state just to see Canada. Yeah, Cowboys can find big shout out. We spend a lot of money to see our football team, and we want to see success. Nearly 30 years since we've won the Super Bowl. Like, and we're now got the longest drought. And again, this goes back to my point against Jerry about proclaiming himself being the best GM. It's like we now have the longest drought in the NFC Championship, reaching to the NFC Championship. How can you sit there and say, yeah, I'm the best GM? In fact, we've only maybe like won, 4 playoff games in the span of 30 years? That's simply embarrassing.
Yeah. I mean, look, I was going to try and do a bit of defending there, but I'm not going to, because it is undefendable in a lot of ways. And when you stop and you say, we've made this statement before, and many people have, that if Jerry Jones wasn't the owner of the Dallas Cowboys and he was the GM, he would have been fired a long time ago.
Absolutely, and I stick to that statement. It's like, and like you, like I've said last week, like you just said there, like if they were two completely different people, the owner would not be happy of how the GM is running the football team. Simple as.
Yeah. Even Jerry himself, as the owner, would fire Jerry, the GM.
He would.
I mean, he
would.
Yeah.
Like if that was the case, but you're not gonna fire yourself. That's reality.
Oh no, and he's come out and said, he's like, look, I'm not going to, he said before that, he's not going to sell the Cowboys because, like, when he bought the Cowboys, he bought himself a career. He bought himself the thing that was going to keep him driven or to move forward with. But all he's done, I mean, look, we can argue about Jerry. He has done some great things.
He has
3 Super Bowls. You can argue about Jimmy Johnson, yada yada yada. But if we're going to say Jimmy Johnson and Switzer won those Super Bowls, then you kind of have to stay on the same foot and say, well, if it was the head coaches that won the Super Bowls, it's been the head coaches that have also lost us not getting to the playoffs. You can't. You've got to be balanced in your approach. But
well, I've got somewhat of a counter argument to that.
Okay.
Ever since Barry Switzer, ever since then, Jerry's became more of the GM.
Well, I mean, like, okay.
So
I'm just saying, though, you know,
from that perspective,
I'm just saying about being consistent in your take is what I'm saying.
Mm.
You know, and then you look at, you know, he built A&T Stadium. Look what he did to Frisco and the Star. We've been there. We've wandered around in the back halls.
That's the one thing I will give Jerry Jones all his flight.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic businessman. Fantastic. Like he worked on land, whatever. Not like I can't remember his whole background. Was it oil, whatever that may be?
It was oil.
But the fact is, he knows what he wants to do in terms of vision. Like he's got a good, clear vision. I will give him that. Obviously, he wants the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl, but focusing more on marketing and brand is not going to help the football team. This is why you've had former Cowboys players in the past saying, I much prefer playing here because there's less distractions. One being Dalton Schultz and two being Cole Beasley. Those are the two prominent ones I've really spoken out about it.
Yeah. And I mean, there's something to be said about that. I mean, we've been in that gym, and we know, when we've been in Frisco in the Star, you've seen what it's like. You kind of like get it. You're like, okay, maybe we shouldn't be doing this and distracting the team and whatever. But we were quite lucky because we went there on a down day. But you can imagine those sort of things, and like they take tours through there all the time. It's nonstop. It would be frustrating. Do you know what I mean? It's your place of work.
Like, don't get me wrong, I was given a really golden opportunity by the Dallas Cowboys back in 2017, sponsored by the Bank of America, to do a documentary. Which is still on the Dallas Cowboys channel. If anyone's interested in seeing it, I might post a link in the description. But also, folks, be sure to like and subscribe. But when I was there back in 2017, it's like, it was fantastic from a fan's perspective. I got to meet, I got more privilege to meet these players because I was actually there for a documentary. Absolutely fine. But obviously, when you're on tour, I did it when I was on tour, and some players did walk past us, and the staff are very adamant, like, do not interact.
Do not interact.
Exactly. They're very but even still, just the idea, me having played football, not up to the level that Cowboys are, or college football, like I played lower leagues and here in the United Kingdom, I would hate these distractions, the fact that there's tours where I'm trying to do a lifting session or basically trying to head my way to a
class,
class for film study or whatever that may be, and you're just seeing tours and tours. It's I'm not gonna lie.
Living in a goldfish bowl.
It's a bit of a circus. It really is.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you go there, it is like being in a goldfish bowl.
If it were me, have tours when the players are not in the building, so there's nothing involved. That'd be me. But
yeah. I mean, surely you can create an easy timetable where you go, the players are in at this time, the tours will run then.
Yeah, exactly. That should be it.
That should be it. And that's it, plain and simple. But that's not how they operate. There's many things you can pick on, like no tailgating outside the stadium in the car park. It's little things like that. You kind of go,
that's never going to happen.
Yeah,
tailgating, regardless of what football team you support. So then it's like a core value of going to a football game or sports events.
Definitely. Yeah.
So that's not going to happen. But I don't know how we managed to get to that subject. But anyway, going back to Brian Schottenheimer.
Yes,
we've already kind of discussed the fact that we're just on the fence of the hire. But the question I do now to ask is, what type of offense do we think that Brian Schottenheimer is going to bring to the Dallas Cowboys now that he's in charge of it?
Quite opposite to Kellen Moore. So if you always remember, Kellen Moore was pass, run. It's going to be the opposite way with Schottenheimer. He is very run heavy. You look back at I always revert to Seattle during his time there. Like, that's the best example to look at, because that's the most I don't want to use Jacksonville because there was just too much wrong there to be able to look at. You can say, well, he was OC for the Cowboys and we haven't, and the Jets, yeah. You say, oh, well, he didn't do that while he was OC with the Cowboys, but he wasn't in charge of the play calling or any of that. He was more of the
consultant.
Day-to-day. Yeah, he was like the day-to-day guy, keeping things going, because Mike McCarthy was the play caller. But if you look at Seattle, you go back to that, I think it was in 2018 or 19, Seattle was the number one rushing offense in the league. Like in 20, I think it was that was 2018. 2019, Russell Wilson had his career season, and the offense was first in the NFL in points per game. But he is very, very run heavy. He does like to run the ball. That is one positive, which is a big thing. His red zone offense is, I would say, much more improved than what we have seen in the past. So that will be another thing. The big one I can definitely say will happen is we will get less offensive penalties than we have under Mike McCarthy.
And what do you mean by that? You're talking about whoever he brings in from the court. Like, I don't know if Schottenheimer can responsibly prevent that. That's down to the players, though, Mike. It really is.
Oh, no, yeah, obviously. There's still going to be penalties, is what I'm saying. But Mike McCarthy was never a guy who seemed to ever address it. And I think Shotty will be the type of
right. Okay. That's what was kind of like, wasn't too sure what you were meaning. Right.
Yeah. No, just to clarify, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So now that you said that Shotty is calling the shots, no pun intended, it seems to be that this might have massive implications to what will happen in regards to free agency or lack of, or the NFL draft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, so now, like, because we've kind of been in limbo, especially on draft shows, and when people have asked us about the draft, we've kind of been in limbo because we don't know until a head coach where things are going to align. Now we know that, yeah, the implications of what this has in the draft now is huge. Like I've been a big Luther Burden fan, wide receiver, right? Really hoping that he would be the guy the Cowboys take, because him and CeeDee Lamb together, I think, would just be dynamic. That would be an unstoppable force almost. But now when you stop and you say shot, you think, this is going to go one of two ways. It's going to be either offensive line early or running back. I'd be
or wide receiver. Or wide receiver, I think.
Luther Burden, I think that's still on the table, but I think he would be like the third choice. But really, I think if Burden's there and he hasn't got to reach too far on his own board for an offensive tackle, for instance, he would override that and go offensive tackle for guys we've spoken about that we like. But I think that would be the case. Definitely, I see a running back being drafted. Whether it's going to be one in the first round, I don't know, purely on the basis of that there is just a plethora of riches at running back. And if you're a smart guy to draft, you go, let's draft a running back in day 2 because there's just so many of them.
Yeah, no, and I think there's more like and one thing you kind of mentioned for depending on what our defense needs, cornerback it could be a very underrated draft pick in the first round for all we know. Yeah. So and there's not really many of them as you dive down to day 2. There's not.
Yes, correct.
So yeah, I think that's the possibility.
Huge need. It's just so sneaky when you stop and you think about it.
Yeah, but I'm just looking at like all the available type of running backs. Hold on a second, let me just filter this out. So,
Yeah.
so you've got the number one rated as in Ashton Gentry from Boise State, Cam Scatterborough, Dylan Sampson from Tennessee, Caleb Johnson, Iowa, Trayvon Henderson, Ohio State, Devin Neal, Kansas, Quishon Judkins, also from Ohio State, RG Harvey, DJ Diddins, Damian Martinez from Miami, who else is a Taj Brooks, who we really quite like from Texas Tech, Ollie Gordon II from Oklahoma State. So this year's running back class is really stacked this year. So. So I have no problem with us drafting a running back at all. Like whether it's if we go Genty at the first round, then we might have to kind of look to really like do some moves to get more picks or try and I don't know. I just don't know the direction that we're going to go. But either way, I think we're going to have to definitely draft a running back and definitely draft more offensive linemen.
To align with what Schottenheimer would want. I think we're both on the same page here. It's definitely running back and offensive line in the draft or free agency.
And obviously, other news that's came in, obviously, as a former Indianapolis Colts head coach. Was it head coach? No, Chicago Bears. Sorry, the Chicago Bears head coach. I do apologize. Matt Elberfus is now coming back to Dallas again. I want another one of we like our guys from Jerry Stevens, but I will defend this one in a way because he did a good job as defensive coordinator in Indianapolis, I thought, and also he was a really good linebackers coach. But also, Mike, this isn't another thing. Linebacker is also a sneaky need as well. Because obviously, I wouldn't say could be. I would say it is. Because when you think about it, we've got oh God, my head's frazzled. Overshown, obviously, injured, right? Set to twice in a row. You've got Kendricks. We don't know if he's coming back.
Exactly.
Right. So that just leaves. Help me out here. My brain is frazzled right now.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we'll get to the rookie who was brilliant, but Damone Clark was like, Damone Clark was kind of like, what was he? Do you know what I mean? We didn't really see him. It seemed to be the rookie Maurice Liafu, who was the guy that kind of took over the reins from when Overshown went down. So when you stop and you think about it, I know what you're saying. In terms of need, linebacker is a need based on numbers. But I think you help your linebackers out more by sorting out the defensive line. A good defensive line will solidify your linebacker.
And again, that's another thing as well. I think with Elberfus, there will be some good defensive linemen to pick out that bunch, especially in the first 3 rounds. Obviously, I've got my pet cats for this year's draft, which is Mike Green from Marshall and David Mitchell from Eastern Arkansas. Oh, sorry, Central Arkansas. Central Arkansas. So that's the 2 defensive ends that I think are really my pet cats, like dark horses to get somewhere in the later parts of the draft. Like I think, Mike Green will be drafted quite highly, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, Mike. I mean, I was right about the whole offensive lineman that went to the Patriots, the center.
Oh yeah. That guy.
Yeah. Everyone had him as a 4th round grade. I'm like, no, he's going early 2nd round or 1st round, and look what happened. So, but I just can't even bloody remember his name to save the hell out of me. I'm gonna have to look it up now.
It's because I've got all draft names for this year on my mind at the moment.
I'm so unprepared today, and I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Just obviously, I'm just a bit overwhelmed of what's been happening with the news when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. I've lost reality at this moment. That's the truth.
Yeah, I mean, look, if we want to stick with the Eberflus conversation, I don't mind him as defensive coordinator. I didn't mind the idea of Rob Saleh, but you look, Rob Saleh has gone back to San Francisco. So it kind of like Eberflus coming back to Dallas coincides with the 49ers way of doing it.
Cole Strange.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
did like him, actually. Yeah,
I really like Cole Strange, but I would never have played him at center. I would have played him at guard. But hey
yeah. But yeah, I mean, you look, Eberflus, yeah, he comes back following the same thing the 49ers have done. And you go back and you look at what Eberflus was like. He was on the defense with Rod Marinelli, and those defenses were strong. They were potent. A lot of players fly into the ball. All 11 players fly to the ball on those type of defenses. And he was part of the defense that got DeMarcus Ware to the dizzying heights he was at, Marcus Spears, all those type of guys. So Eberflus can do it. And when you look back at his past as a coach, it's always been like wherever it is, it's always been the defense that has been strong. The trouble is as a head coach, he struggles with everything else.
Yeah, it seems to be a running theme with defensive coordinators becoming head coaches, but maybe not so much Dan Quinn as of right now, but in time, we don't know. But
yeah,
we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I don't mind Eberflus. He has a fairly decent resume when it comes to controlling defenses. So yeah, I like that. I mean, the issue is now who's the OC? That's a big question mark. Who's the special teams coach as well?
Well, there has been rumors it's going to be Dan Bailey.
That would be interesting. I like Dan Bailey. He's a funny guy.
Yeah, but end of the day, like he is a no disrespect. I love Dan Bailey when he was our kicker and stuff like that. But in terms of punt return, etc., like there's more knowledge than just actual kick placement and stuff like that. So unless he's done his whole coaching side of actually getting himself up to speed, whatever and that, but yeah,
special teams coaches, you got to have a certain personality as well.
I know, but it's not
those
so
guys
much
are all wacky.
Like, yeah, it's all about what type of system do you want your special teams to run? Do you want how many gunners you want to run down to actually?
How safe do you want to play it, basically?
Yeah. All the different strategies behind it. We don't know about Dan Bailey as if he is our special teams coordinator. I don't know, but But either way, as far as I'm aware, though, Mike, I think it was I can't remember. It was either Jane Slater or it was John Machoda that mentioned it on Twitter. I need to double check, but basically,
I think it was John.
But basically, that Schottenheimer's already got his staff pretty much who he wants.
That was John who said that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be the next couple of days. We'll start finding out how this 2025 coaching staff will shape up to be. But as it stands right now, we're just going to have to bite the bullet and see what happens. And obviously, later today, there will be a press conference of the introduction of Brian Schottenheimer. So I'll be paying close attention to that and see how Jerry responds to the fans' outcry. Me in particular,
Yeah.
So
he's going to get criticism from the media while they're in there.
100%. But the fact is, you actually are getting criticized by the media. Like you've got Ocho on Speak doing it. You've got
all the 105 boys.
105. You've got people from Colin Coward. Everyone is baffled about this. Baffled.
Yeah. But here's a question for you, right? Here's a big one. That, we've already mentioned free agency and we just said about the draft now. Do you feel, especially since it's a new head coach and that, if this is one of their guys, do you think Jerry will be willing to open the pocketbook a little bit more in free agency this year to help Shotty out?
If I can free up the cap, then yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
So and obviously we're supposed to be like Jerry was one of the people were actually introduced to salary cap, and yet we're the ones that always struggle, seem to kind of keep ourselves under by restructuring contracts left, right, and center nearly every single season, and leaving new contracts to the very last end. It's just so frustrating, and I can understand every Cowboys fan's anger and frustration. We're craving for success, and we're not getting it. Right, all because and people might hate it. Like people in Dallas might hate me for saying this, but it's Jerry wants to do it in his own merit. He can't.
Yes, he does. That's the trouble. Yeah,
That's the problem. There's nothing wrong of having someone else doing the work for you. Like, let someone else be a GM. Let someone else, and if it doesn't work out, get someone else. Like again, it's just. I'm done, Mike. I'm done. Done.
I just think that, if we talk about free agency, I do think, Jerry is going to try and help him out because he's not going to want Schottenheimer to fail, because if Schottenheimer fails, it makes Jerry look now even worse than what, the perception already is. Because like if Schottenheimer fails, it means all these head coaches didn't want to be a head coach. You've got your ex-defensive coordinator and your ex-offensive coordinator facing each other at the NFC
in the NFC Championship game.
That looks just as bad. So now you've got all of this swirling. So the last thing Jerry needs is for Schottenheimer to come in his first year and be bad. What Jerry really needs is for Schottenheimer to come in and boss it. And then he could be like, see, told you.
And I think that's where we would love that to happen. We
Definitely.
would like I said, mate. Like I said, like I would be more than happy to eat the biggest slice of humble pie ever if that's the case.
Definitely.
Like,
of course.
And obviously, like, and I'm not going to belittle Brian Schottenheimer at all. Like,
Definitely.
I want him to succeed, but I have my reservations and apprehension about the hire. I do.
And me and you being the type of people we are, we'll be the type of people now on these shows where we, as training camp and all the rest of it kicks in, we'll be the ones cheering him on because that's how we are.
Yeah.
Trying to find the optimism in it all.
Like, I think with training camp, it's hard to be that level excited. I think it'll be more so when you see players actually in preseason.
Yeah,
that's the first time you really are going to make a proper assessment of Schottenheimer. Really proper assessment. How is he dealing with rotation of players? How's the players that he's brought in looking from the get-go, etc.?
The advice he's getting off his coordinators.
Exactly. Like, how does he deal with certain situations, etc.?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's going to be a tough one to digest. I'll be honest. But he's our head coach. Regardless, I'm a Cowboys fan for life. I'm gonna wish him for all the success.
There you go. Definitely.
Like, and that's the one thing that I don't understand. Like, yeah, I can be mad at Jerry, but at the same time, I'm still gonna root for my team no matter what.
Yeah.
And this is no spat to fellow Cowboys Nation who are thinking jumping ship and that, but that's just silly. It really is.
Yeah.
Like,
I know there's a few people I know that have turned into a star.
And I get it.
Yeah.
Maybe you've been fans for over 30, like well over 30 years. You've seen the Super Bowl, you've lived it, you're craving for it, and you're having to deal with this for 30 years. I get it.
The disappointment.
But at the end of the day, I'm not a fan of the Jones family. I'm a fan of the Dallas Cowboys. There's a difference. I'm the fan of the team rather than who actually runs the show. And this is why I think, like, and I'm not going to share on air, but yeah.
Because we know there's certain people who listen to what we say. So yeah.
yeah. Unless there's a big change that happens in the inner circle, then things can rejoice a little bit. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's a tough one.
We didn't.
And here's the thing: I've met Jerry before. Nice guy. Met him, shook his hand. I
I'm
was
not on about Jerry the person.
nothing wrong with Jerry as the person per se, but you do have to question him in terms of how he runs a football team. He was never a coach. He was never this. He was never that. He played somewhat football when he was in Arkansas.
Correct.
Over 60 years ago.
Would you?
That's it. That's it. I mean, get someone experienced that knows the more day-to-day innings of football in today's league. That's the problem.
Yes, I can get totally behind you on that one, mate.
Yeah. But yes, folks, like I said, be sure to leave some comments and let us know what you think about the Brian Schottenheimer. And I would probably expect it's not going to be ultra positive in some regard. It's not going to be pretty, but we're willing to hear every fan's frustration, to be honest with you. But yeah, mate. But moving on, obviously we briefly mentioned that it is the AFC NFC Championship games this weekend. We've got the rematch of Mahomes versus Josh Allen, which to me is becoming one of the best rivalries in the AFC in X amount of years I could think of, because they are the two of the best, I think. But I don't know about you, Mike. If the referees are playing fair, I think the Bills can do it.
I mean, look, the trouble is, if we go to roughing the passer, Mahomes and Mahomes and Allen are both first and second in most during their career. So, like you say, if the refs are calling it fair, they're going to be calling roughing the passer on both of them. I mean, mostly Allen is called roughing the passer against him because he's just like a flop artist. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen a video of his flops.
No,
I'll send it to you. It's hilarious. It's just basically it's a compilation of all his flops and everything and how easy he goes down. But Mahomes at the same time, he's on the other side getting the same amount of calls. So as long as they're both getting called rough in the passer calls, it's all fair and equal. But I think Kansas wins it.
Yeah, you can't really go against Kansas. It's at home, home field advantage.
Yeah. Arrowhead,
Arrowhead's gonna be streaming. I've been there myself. To me, it's one of the loudest stadiums I've ever been to, and that says
lovely
something.
Stadium. Lovely stadium.
It is a really nice stadium, and it's still one of the oldest stadiums in the NFL. And I would say happily that atmosphere in Kansas actually can beat a lot of European soccer games for sure.
It's got a college atmosphere.
Oh, 100%. And it's right, and I believe it's not far away from I know it's next door to the baseball stadium, but I can't remember where the university is. I don't know if it's nearby. I'll need to double check with my friend J Tuck on that one.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you'll know where the Jayhawks play from there.
Yeah.
But I do think Kansas take it. I just do.
Yeah, like ideally, I would like to see the Bills do it. Ideally, I want to see Amari Cooper actually get a ring.
That would be cool.
Like I want to see Amari Cooper get a Super Bowl ring because
he deserves it.
He deserves it. Like he's so cool, calm, collected, such an ultimate professional.
Had a rough path too in the NFL.
Yeah, he had a really rough path, and I think he deserves all the praise out there. So that's what I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for the Bills. But now moving on to possibly the worst NFC Championship game prediction I am ever going to say. So it's our NFC East rivals, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders. Don't know about you, Mike. I want Washington straight up.
Of course, yeah, definitely.
I do not want to see Philly. Like, I'm a true Dallas fan when it's anyone but the Eagles, anyone but them, anyone.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, like, here's the problem. We just talked about Kansas playing home. Eagles are home in the link. I would say they have They by far have the better roster, offensive and defensively. And I'm with you. I want it to be Washington, but I don't see it.
Yeah, and that means we're going to have a repeat of a Super Bowl from 2-3 years ago, which we went to Leeds for that one.
Yeah,
actually.
we were with our boy Jamie for that one. Yeah.
So
we got a little bit drunk the night before, though.
I was saying we did. That was a good night, to be fair. But yeah, like in fairness, though, Washington in this year's playoffs, they've actually played so much better on the road than I would say than the majority of the teams in this year's NFL season, and especially in these playoffs, like beating Tampa and also beating Detroit. That was a shocker.
Big shock. Big shock.
Like everyone had Detroit actually as the number one favorites to actually win the Super Bowl. Some people had it. Like I would say Detroit probably have the best chance of beating like Kansas or Buffalo or whoever that may be.
It.
Yeah, you said it. A lot of people say that in the mainstream media, but my goodness, like Washington turned up and enemy territory. Absolutely walked the park defensively and offensively. So if they can pull up a performance like they did, and let's be honest, when you're playing in playoff football, you should be willing to sacrifice everything. Not like what we did against Green Bay last year. Not like that.
Oh, that was soft. Yeah. You got to go full ham. And I mean, like you look, right? They go into the Detroit game. You know, I'm saying I don't see them because they're the lesser team, and they are 9-point underdogs. For what the odds are given on them, but you look that they go to Detroit, they're underdogs in that game, so their backs up against the wall, and they're like, "What have we got to lose? Let's leave it all on the field." Same thing could happen here.
And another reason why I want Washington to win it is I want former Cowboys players again to get a Super Bowl, from Biadish, Dorrance Armstrong, etc. And obviously Dan Quinn. Like I have no ill will for Dan Quinn going to Washington or whatever and that.
No.
He wanted to get back into the head coaching role. Obviously, he was never going to get offered it here in Dallas again, and I think that we could argue why we're not happy with things that have been operated. We missed opportunities. We have missed opportunities with certain coaches. But yeah, I think, and the biggest difference of all is like Washington have got brand new owners as of this season.
Yeah, they had to get rid of Schneider without a doubt.
Right, and this is the first year of it. And look where they are.
And you look like, you talk about that. Remember, was it last season or the season before when they put up like the display and everything of the uniform? You're just like, and then they go out and they get a new mascot and it's a pig, and you're just like, all this is falling apart. FedEx Field was falling apart. And now look at them, they're on the precipice of a Super Bowl. And like you say, having...
They're definitely having like the underdog season.
Yeah,
pretty
definitely.
Much. Like you said, the stadium is falling apart. They went through the longest drought. Now we've got it of reaching an NFC championship. They've got a new head coach, new owner, brought in a lot of former players from the Cowboys, and it just shows you that anything could happen. Like
coaching is everything. Is what it shows you.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that would be my preference: Bills versus Washington, Super Bowl, and whoever wins that, I couldn't really care less, if I'm being honest. Because at the end of the day, it's either going to be Amari Cooper or it's going to be Biadish or Armstrong that's going to have Super Bowl rings. So either way,
and you got Kellen Moore on the other side as well.
I cannot care less about Kellen Moore, if I'm being honest.
You always back the ex-Cowboys is how I.
Not Kellen Moore. I'm sorry. I've never been a fan of Kellen Moore. Never have. Never have. Okay. I'm sorry. Never been.
Hey, it's your preference.
Yeah. And it's the fact that he's actually working with the Eagles. That's why I still I have to I don't mind players going to other teams, but when they go to the Eagles, like that's why I still hold a disdain for like DeMarco Murray. I still hold that to this day.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when you know when you're a proper Cowboys fan, when you really go to the proper enemy, directly to the enemy. It'd be different if he played with a different team, whatever, in that first. Well, then again, Kellen Moore went to the Chargers, but he went to Eagles. Like, so it kind of defeats my argument there. But either way,
yeah,
the fact
that both sides of your mouth, mate.
But either way, he's in Eagles uniform. I'm sorry, I can't support that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm with you.
But anyway, but yes, folks. Like I said earlier on the show, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Let us know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube what you think about the hire of Brian Schottenheimer. What do you think about Brian and Matt Elberfus as the defensive coordinator? Also, just let us know your general thoughts and what do you see us doing in the NFL draft and free agency? We would love to hear everyone's opinion. But yeah, before we do go, Mike, please tell everyone where everyone can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Kenfig Cowboy. Kenfig with a K, Cowboy with a K. And what about you, Mr. P?
You can find me at IamPStew on X and Instagram. But yes, folks, that is the end of this week's show. Also, be sure to tune in at 11 a.m. Central Time as the Dallas Cowboys press conference for Brian Schottenheimer's debut as head coach, along with Jerry Jones and Steven and the whole crew. It should be fireworks, folks. So be sure to tune in to DallasCowboys.com for that one. But anyway, folks, we're about to sign off and we're going to tune in, see what Jerry has to say. And until next time, go Cowboys. Have a good one, folks. See you next week.
You've been listening to the World's Team Podcast. There's no other team like it in the world. Nothing more electrifying than the Dallas Cowboys. And we're here to prove it. We bring in fan groups from Germany, France, Brazil, the UK, Canada, Japan. We're everywhere, baby. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on Instagram at the.worlds.team. On Twitter at _worlds_team. And on YouTube at the World's Team. How about them Cowboys?
And the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys? Yeah!
See you next time.